Start recording. Stop recording. Button.
Raise your hand if you've ever heard the phrase that if something looks or sounds too good to be true, that it probably is. If you have, then perhaps you've seen an advertisement for a medicine that's supposed to help with heart failure. And it claims that in the largest heart failure study ever, that this particular medicine was proven to help more people stay alive and out of the hospital than anything else on the market. Alright, challenge accepted. Because what we're going to do is we're going to find out exactly where this claim came from, because scientifically that just doesn't make any sense. Because anybody that has been paying attention for the last several years, it usually doesn't take one experiment to prove the validity of a scientific claim. It could take 3, 4, or maybe even 5 experiments before they could put 2 and 2 together and say, oh, that's how that works. So, that's what we're about to find out. Now, why should I come on camera and tell you this? Well, the answer is really very simple. Because a lot of people don't want to do research. And when they hear an advertisement make claims, they'll jump right on board to get this product without even doing an ounce of research about it. Because, as humans, we're easily emotionally manipulated. We will literally believe anything as long as the advertisers get their money.
JAWS Professional. Start button to open. Press enter. Desktop folder tab task. Internet Explorer. Google.com. New tab page.
So yeah,
search edit. Type in
challenge accepted. Let's see just how much scientific validity you people have.
Diagrist heart failure study. Google search. No tab page.
That
Diagrist heart failure.
wasn't where I wanted.
Search edit. And wrapping the search edit. Heart. Diagrist select. The largest heart failure study. Google search. Search combo box. The L heart failure study. The graphic Google search. Novartis' new heart failure medicine LCZ 696. Now called Entresto TM. https://www.novartis.com. Novartis' new heart failure medicine LCZ 696. Now called Entresto TM. Novartis' new heart failure medicine LCZ 696. Now called Entresto TM. Approved by FDA to reduce risk of cardiovascular death and heart failure hospitalization. Novartis' new heart failure.
Okay, so let's see what this article has to say here.
Novartis' new heart failure medicine LCZ 696, now called Entresto TM, approved by FDA to reduce risk of cardiovascular death and heart failure hospitalization. JAWS 07, 2015.
Okay, so this was published 1 year ago.
List of 4 items. First in the world, approval brings hope of longer life and fewer hospitalizations for millions of Americans with heart failure with reduced ejection fraction.
Okay.
Entresto is the first and only treatment to show a significant mortality benefit in a head-to-head trial against ACE inhibitor enalapril-1. Heart failure is a life-threatening condition affecting nearly 6 million Americans. About half have the reduced ejection fraction form 2. Approval comes 6 weeks ahead of FDA's priority review action date, allowing Entresto to be available to U.S. patients more quickly. List end. The digital press release with multimedia content can be accessed here. Graphic 1 million. Basel, July 7, 2015. Novartis announced today that the U.S. Food and Drug Administration FDA has approved Entresto TM sacubitril/valsartan tablets, previously known as LCZ 696, for the treatment of heart failure with reduced ejection fraction. Entresto will be available on prescription for patients whose condition is classified NICA Class 2 IV, indicated to reduce the risk of cardiovascular death and heart failure hospitalization. It is usually administered in conjunction with other heart failure therapies in place of an ACE inhibitor or other angiotensin receptor blocker.
Well, what do you know? This medicine alone isn't going to help, because according to this article, it flat out says it's usually used with other stuff. But oh well, I'm open-minded, so let's see what else y'all have to say.
Basel, July 7, 2015. Novartis announced today that the U.S. Food and Drug Administration (FDA) has approved Entresto TM sacubitril/valsartan tablets, previously known as LCZ 696, for the treatment of heart failure with reduced ejection fraction. Entresto will be available on prescription for patients whose condition is classified NICA Class 2 IV, indicated to reduce the risk of cardiovascular death and heart failure hospitalization. It is usually administered in conjunction with other heart failure therapies in place of an ACE inhibitor or other angiotensin receptor blocker. 1. Despite the uncertainty and high financial risk, we designed the world's largest heart failure trial to compare Entresto to the previous gold standard. As a result, millions of people diagnosed with reduced ejection fraction heart failure now have a much greater opportunity to live longer and stay out of hospital, said David Epstein, division head, Novartis Pharmaceuticals. We recognize our responsibility to ensure Entresto reaches U.S. patients and prescribers as soon as possible and will begin shipping in the U.S. in the coming week. The FDA's decision is based on results from the 8,442-patient Paradigm-HF study, which was stopped early when it was shown Entresto significantly reduced the risk of cardiovascular death versus ACE inhibitor enalapril. At the end of the study, patients with reduced ejection fraction who were given Entresto were more likely to be alive and less likely to have been hospitalized for heart failure than those given enalapril. Analysis of safety data showed that Entresto had a similar tolerability profile to enalapril. The very meaningful survival advantage of Entresto seen in the Paradigm-HF trial should persuade physicians to consider Entresto for all appropriate patients, in place of traditional ACE inhibitors or angiotensin receptor blockers, said Dr. Milton Packer, professor and chair for the Department of Clinical Sciences at the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center, Texas, USA. Entresto is expected to change the management of patients with HFrF for years to come. Nearly 6 million people in the U.S. suffer from heart failure, and about half have the reduced ejection fraction form. About 2.2 million of these patients have heart failure classified as NICA 2 IV, based on how much their symptoms limit their physical activity. 3. Heart failure is a debilitating, life-threatening condition in which the heart cannot pump enough blood around the body. Patients face a high risk of death. Repeated hospitalizations and symptoms such as breathlessness, fatigue, and fluid retention significantly impact quality of life. 4. Entresto is currently undergoing review by health authorities around the world, including in Canada, Switzerland, and the EU. Once approved by health authorities around the world, Entresto could achieve estimated peak sales in excess of $5 billion for the reduced ejection fraction indication. About Entresto is a first-in-class...
Okay, well, in this particular case, they lucked out. But just to be sure this is really neutral, let's take a look at the website.
About us. About Novartis. About us, Novartis. About us. About Novartis. No, give me more info button. Page has 7 regions. 4 edit. About us. Our mission is to discover new ways to improve and extend people's lives.
Well, okay, that seems reasonable.
Graphic section image / who we are. Novartis is a global healthcare company based in Switzerland that provides solutions to address the evolving needs of patients worldwide. Learn more. Graphic section image / corporate responsibility. We apply our expertise in science and innovation to society's biggest health challenges. Responsibility is a core part of our business strategy. Learn more. Graphic section. Our business. Our portfolio focuses on 3 divisions: Pharmaceuticals, Elkin, and Close document
All right.
window. Menu.
So,
shut down.
In this particular case, this ad passes the smell test. However, normally, it wouldn't take one study just to prove the validity of a claim. That study should be repeated thousands of times by other scientists and scientific professionals who don't know these guys from Sir Isaac Newton, to ensure that the results that these particular scientists came up with are the results they come up with. So, y'all lucked out. Luckily. That's all I gotta say here for this one.